Was that an oil sample? Another one? Nice. All right. Now we got 3 oil samples, so we can turn it into doctor in school to unlock the classroom shelter. You're looking for a guide on how to do terminal? Come to the right place. I've been there a few times now, so come up with a pretty safe, fast, and easy loot route to get good stuff and get out relatively quickly and safely. We'll see what this classroom looks like. Decent amount of space, not the biggest, but bigger than your starting shelter at least, and then it's going to be centrally located, so ideal location-wise, but not the biggest space. So hopefully what I've learned from the few times I've been there can help you out. That way you don't have to feel too uncertain. You don't have to take too much risk. You can go in pretty confident, knowing what you need to do without having to learn from your mistakes. One mistake can cost you your entire account. Hopefully these tips help you out. So if you're planning on heading into Vostok, and especially Terminal, you're going to want to bring pretty much all your best stuff. You want to be as prepared as possible because Vostok and Terminal are going to be permadeath, so any mistake, if it gets you killed, you're going to start over from scratch. So you might as well bring all your best stuff, because if you die there, you're going to lose it anyway. Ideally, you would want to go at nighttime if you have NVGs, because the enemies can't see you from as far away, so you're able to sneak around a bit easier, be a little bit more stealthy. It's a little bit safer that way if you have NVGs, but if you're not lucky enough to find NVGs, then it's still possible. During the day, it's just going to be a little bit more dangerous. You got to be a little bit more careful, but still doable. NVGs would be the way to go if you have them. Go at night. That way, enemies can't spot you from as far away. Without NVGs, you should be still okay, but you want to have armor. If you have it, you can buy armor from the gunsmith in Outpost. He sells armor, helmets, and a spare, ideally, if you have them, because if you take damage and the helmet or the armor goes to 0, it's worthless. So you're going to want to have at least a spare to replace it if necessary. Obviously, your best gun with ideally a good scope on it. The range scopes are going to be the best. That way you can snipe enemies from far away. But if you don't have that, just whatever best scope you have. Plenty of ammo. So if you have a suppressor, I would definitely recommend running your weapon suppressed as well. That way you can take shots at enemies without alerting them, and every other enemy in the area to your position can be a little bit more stealthy. Plenty of meds, different types of meds for different types of injuries. So splints for fractures, tourniquets for bleeds, SOS for like headshots and other stuff like that. Because if you take any of that kind of damage in Terminal or Vostok, you're going to keep losing health until you eventually die. If you can't cure it, you're going to have to book it out of there if that's the case, and you may not be able to make it back. May end up getting you killed, and if you die in Vostok or Terminal before you're able to get out to a safe zone like Minefield, then obviously it's not going to be a good situation starting over from scratch. So ideally you want to stock up as much as possible. Like the loot I have here seems a bit overkill, but it's better to have something you don't need rather than to need something you don't have, especially when your life is on the line and your entire account is on the line when you're in Vostok and Terminal. Stock up, bring as much of good stuff as possible, because you can always make room for better stuff by dropping things you don't need. If you don't have something that you need, then you're going to be in a bad situation. NVGs, if you have them, bring extra batteries, because they're definitely going to run out, because you're going to be taking it slow and steady and being safe. You want to have some batteries for backup. That way you can actually see. Otherwise, you're going to have to switch to your flashlight, which still needs batteries as well, but flashlight's definitely not as good as NVGs for visibility, and it also gives away your position to enemies. So if you're running NVGs, definitely want batteries for backup. If you're planning on going to Terminal for the oil samples, you definitely want to go at night, ideally. You don't want to go during the day, because you're going to have to be going in the middle of the oil tankers to find the oil samples. That's where pretty much all the enemies are, and if they're up on the oil tankers, they can see you from really far away during the day, and you're going to be in a bad spot, most likely going to die. So definitely want to do that at night with night vision, if at all possible. But there is a pretty safe and reliable loot route that I have found around the edges of the map that can get you some pretty good loot. Ideally, you're going to be looking for the special crates that can be in random places, but I found quite a few in this little route that I've put together. You can get in and out relatively easily, relatively safely, and get some pretty good loot. And if you wanted to repeat it, you can also just go back to Vostok and then come right back into Terminal, because every time you transition between Vostok and Terminal, it resets the world environment. So the loot resets, the enemies reset. It's basically like a shelter when you transition. So you can go into Terminal, loot it, go back to Vostok, and then go right back into Terminal and loot it all over again if you really wanted to. If you plan on doing that, you're definitely going to want to stock up for the long term. Tons of food, tons of drinks especially because hydration drains a lot faster than energy. You definitely want to be over prepared especially if you plan on doing it multiple times in the same run, because if you're already there, you might as well just keep looting it, because it takes quite a bit of time to get there. A few transitions, even if you're coming straight from Outpost, transition to Minefield to Vostok, Vostok to Terminal. That's already a few hours and quite a bit of energy and hydration cost just to get there. So if you're already there, you're already stocked up, ready to go, you might as well just Terminal, Vostok, Terminal, Vostok, Terminal, Vostok until either you're running low on supplies or you're satisfied with the loot that you've gotten and ready to head back. Definitely overstock, over-prepare, bring all the best stuff that you've got. If you have your cat, you're probably going to want to bring your cat with you, because my cat ended up dying the first time I went there for the oil samples, because it took quite a bit of time. I was playing as safe as possible, moving slowly. Your cat dies pretty fast. Might want to bring your cat if you don't want your cat to die. That way you can just place the cat somewhere when it needs to be fed again, feed it, and then pick it back up, or just leave it there until you're ready to leave with it. If you don't want your cat to die, you might want to bring it with you. That's if you're able to get the cat out of the box out in the world. I'm not sure if the cat only comes out of the box in your shelter or if it comes out in the world. If it doesn't come out in the world, only comes out in the shelter, you're pretty much screwed. Your cat's going to end up dying. Probably don't want to even rescue the cat if you plan on spending a lot of time in Vostok or Terminal, because the cat's going to end up dying pretty quickly. Hopefully the developer changes that so the cat doesn't die so fast, because it really interrupts the flow of looting, especially when it takes so much investment to get to Vostok and Terminal. You definitely want to spend as much time there as possible, getting as much loot as possible, So hopefully that changes, but like I said, bring the cat if you don't want your cat to die. Hopefully you're able to feed it out in the world, but if not, you're pretty much out of luck. You might want to even bring a couple pillows or sleeping bags as well if you want to get the perfect time of day if you didn't set it up just right on the way there. Ideally, you want to leave around dusk time if you're leaving from Outpost to get to Terminal by nighttime if you want to loot at night. If you don't get there at the right time, you can always use a pillow to sleep 6 to 12 hours to pass the time to get the right time of day. So if you want to loot the apartments in Vostok, you can. There's tons of apartments that you can go through and loot, quite a few military crates and stuff like that, but I don't think Vostok apartments is really worth the time to loot ratio, because going through all the apartments is going to take quite a bit of time, and I don't think the loot that you get, although it's pretty good, I don't think it's worth the time spent compared to the route that I'm going to show you for Terminal. If you just want to go straight to Terminal, once you go into the apartments, just turn right and follow the border tape all the way around until you get to the transition to Terminal. Relatively safe, but just be careful. There are sometimes enemies out in the woods. I've been able to just sprint straight there from the entrance to the exit, just following the tape without running into enemies, but there can be, so just be careful. Keep an eye out on enemies. All right, now that we're in Terminal, we're gonna move up to this body by this tank. So this is gonna be a loot, but also a stash area. So anything overstock that you don't think you're gonna need, you can put in here and come back, grab it before you leave. So food items, batteries and stuff, anything that you don't plan on using during the run, you can stash there. So you can definitely overstock and stash there, and then grab it before you leave, and then stash again when you come back in. But I'm gonna move up to this area here, but you wanna be quiet, walking slowly, because there can be enemies in these little camps. There's enemies sometimes patrolling the streets, sometimes out in the woods as well. So just got to take it slow and steady. Listen for enemies, because they usually talk to themselves, so you can hear them from pretty good distance away. And if they're walking close by, you can hear them as well. So there's a little container behind these. Yep, right here. Nice, M4. I'll take that. That KM, a bit low on durability, so we might end up switching that out if I find a better gun, but can hold on to it for now, In this next area, there can be enemies in here as well, so you just want to be quiet as possible. That way you can hear. If they talk to themselves or they're moving around. Check these crates in the body, and then this little military container. Take the ammo out of here. Don't want the magazines, but I'll take the ammo. Ammo doesn't take as much space, so. Yeah. Anytime you can either hug a wall or hug the yellow tape on the edge of the map, ideally that's going to be the best situation. That way you can limit the angles that enemies can see you from. You only need to worry about half the area instead of 360 coverage. You only need 180 coverage. I'm just going to search these buildings here because they got some military crates and some trash cans. Sometimes there's loose loot here as well, so you just got to make sure you look on the ground. Usually there's either no loose loot or there's a ton of loose loot. There's really no in between. Anytime I see loose loot, there's usually like a giant pile of it. So when it rains, it pours. When it's drought, it's major drought. Is that a BTR? I think that might be a BTR. Just eat real quick while we're waiting this out. You definitely don't want to challenge the BTR. It's an armored vehicle with a machine gun, so you're just going to get smoked. And in this permadeath zone, you definitely don't want to risk it. Make stops, so just got to wait it out. It does leave the map, so it just goes through like a patrol route and then makes a couple stops and then eventually leaves. So just gotta wait it out. But so this area of the map towards the yellow tape is generally the safest, but there have been enemies out here, not in this area, but as we move around to the other side, the next section, I have found enemies out there, so you just got to be careful. Pretty sure they can be anywhere. But the most dangerous areas are going to be the street area and then especially the oil tankers, for sure. Yeah, this is really unfortunate that a BTR is here, but a bit risky coming out this way, but as long as you're out of its line of sight and quiet, I don't think should be an issue. There it is right there, I think, in the street. We're just going to flank as far around as possible. I don't know if it has people with it patrolling that might branch out if they hear you, but it's going to keep our distance and avoid it. There it goes. So, moving out of position, so we should be safe to move forward in just a second. If you really want to play it safe, you can just wait for it to leave the entire map. That's why you want to come as prepared as possible with as much inventory as possible, because you could be here a while. You don't want to rush it and get yourself killed and lose your entire account, so best to play it safe, slow and steady. There it is right there in the street. So this seems to be a safe distance, but still a bit sketchy. Alright, so this is the next section we're going to want to loot in these little oil tankers. There have been special crates in here, but like I said, they're random, so it's not always guaranteed. But these are the areas that I've found special crates, so there have been one like right here. Usually there's an oil... Oh, shoot. Somebody shooting at me. Uh-oh. Uh-ohs. That's not good. Hopefully that doesn't alert everybody else to my position, but you can loot this little building and that guy in the street there, but I'm gonna book it over here just in case that sends people over here. Let's So yeah, killing the military guards here isn't really worth it in my opinion, if you can avoid it, because they don't really have good loot. Like, they all have KA-12, so if you really like that gun, I guess you can take their guns, but they're usually pretty low durability and all stock, no special attachments, no sights, anything. They're just basic iron sight. But the guys themselves usually don't have anything, so you can't take their rig. They don't have armor, but they have armor to protect themselves from damage, but they don't have armor you can loot, which is unfortunate. Hopefully the developer changes that in the future. That way they're actually worth killing and looting. You should at least be able to take their rigs, because they have... Oh, shoot. Somebody shoot at me. They have rigs, and they have armor, but you can't loot either one. So, if they have armor that can protect them from damage, they should have armor that you can loot, even if it's damaged if you shoot it. But at the very least, you should be able to take their rigs, but no guarantee. Every guy that I've looted has had no loot worth grabbing, other than the guns, but even the guns aren't really worth it, because they're so low durability. You would think military soldiers would have guns that they take care of, you know, that they maintain, but I guess this military is cheap Charlies, cheapskates. Yeah, we're just gonna look it around here real quick, that way you can lose this guy, because I don't know if he's following me or not, but since he shot at me, I would assume other enemies are moving towards his position. They do move towards sound, so having a suppressor is helpful. Having this long scope's definitely very helpful as well. So yeah, next area we're going to want to loot is this little walled off section with these 2 oil tankers. There's a couple buildings you can loot and a couple containers, and I've also found a special crate in this little area as well, so generally safe, but there are sometimes enemies in this area. You just gotta listen for them and sneak up on them if you can. Okay, I think he's going towards my last known position, so we're gonna move away from there. Make sure he's not coming up behind me. Oh, another guy. He might either be in this area or in the railroad on the other side of the wall. So just gonna take it slow and steady, be quiet and listen. It's basically the rule of thumb with this map. Slow and steady wins the race. Listen for sound. Don't give away your position. So we're just going to go through these buildings real quick. Trash bags and military crates. Again, there's sometimes loot on the floor as well, so you just want to make sure you don't miss any loose loot while you're coming through. Check these shipping containers as well. They sometimes have crates and loose loot as well. The loot seems to be a little scarce this run. Not the greatest. Sometimes it's really good, sometimes it's just meh. Yeah, I just want to make sure guy I heard over here is not too close. But yeah, the special crate was in that corner right there. Once. I don't see anybody. So this next section is going to be a bit risky. You're going to have to cross this rail section, but just going to check around here real quick. Make sure he's not like right on the other side of this wall. Alright. I don't know where he went. I think he just walked off, so either he walked off or he grouped up with the other guy who was looking for me, and yeah, this one's a bit risky here, but you take it slow, you should be okay, because there can be enemies in this railway section. in between the train cars and stuff, but and just keep an eye on those oil tankers in the center as well. I don't know if that guy saw me or if he's just talking. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they went out to where they saw me run off to, so this is where it's going to get a bit risky, but let's keep an eye out on the oil tankers, make sure there aren't any guards patrolling up high or on the stairs. There have been guards walking around this area as well, so just got to keep your eye out, keep your ear open. We're going to loot these shipping containers and military containers. Nothing there. Got stuck on the door. I'll take that. Pretty sure I have the 308 barrel, so I can convert that to a 308. Car 21 308, the highest damage gun in the game, but only by 10. All the other guns do 40 damage, but the Car 21 308 does 50. So don't find too much 308 ammo though. I find a ton of 223. So yeah, I have seen a guard like walking in this section, crossing from the street to the tankers. This section's a bit risky too. Just got to make sure nobody's out on the street there, while nobody's patrolling inside as well. Thought I heard something, but so there are shipping containers in the middle of the oil tankers as well, but during the day I don't think it's worth the risk because that's where the majority of the enemies are. If they're up high, they're going to have the high ground on you. You're going to be in a bad spot, so we're going to skip those, but during the nighttime it's a little bit safer as long as you go slow. Don't make too much noise. But during the day, I don't think it's worth the risk. So we're just going to loot these other shipping containers and military containers on this wall down the way. Those are the shipping containers there, and there's another set. There's another set in this next section as well. Oh shoot, somebody shot at me. I'm not too sure where that came from. Sounded like in between the oil tankers, but okay, this is bad. Ideally, you don't want to sprint around, but they already know my position, so at this point, you'd probably just want to cut your losses and get out, but I'm going to show you the loot. I'm going to risk it for the biscuit. Alright, I think we're okay. I think we got a few seconds before they start coming, at least. That wasn't too close, so unless he's rushing over here, I think we should be okay. Oh. Dropped the wrong gun. I wanted to replace the pistol, not... Okay, stop picking up the wrong gun. This is bad. This is bad. You can't just loot straight to your... Come on, dude. Well, that's kind of dumb. You can't just loot straight to your primary slot. Well, that was the worst time for that to happen, but... So if you have a pistol, that can go on there. A pistol, but... Haven't been using pistols, been using the rifles. Got tons of rifles, so... just check these containers real quick. Of course, there's going to be nothing there. Oh, what a bust. What a bust. Not even worth, but that's the route. I'm just going to book it out of here real quick, just in case enemies are starting to move up. Make sure there's nobody out here on the street. There was a guy over there, I believe, patrolling. He was talking, but I think we should be okay here. So we're just going to hit the body again, grab what we dropped off. And get out of here. If you wanted to do it again, you would just go out to Vostok and then come right back in again and do it all over. Now you're just going to hug the border tape all the way around and head on back to Minefield. So this is the loot haul we ended up with. Not terrible, but not great either for one run. But like I said, it's either hit or miss with how the loot works. You either get a ton of loot in one run or you don't get a whole lot. When it rains, it pours, or it's drought. Doing it multiple times, you're definitely going to end up with some pretty good loot overall. Vostok Apartments, I would say, is more quantity over quality, whereas this terminal route is going to be more quality over quantity. But then again, quantity sometimes ends up in quality as well. Just really depends on your luck. Depends what you want. If you want to get the best loot in the shortest amount of time possible, or if you want to loot all the stuff and hope for the best. Really depends whether you're going to spend more time in apartments or terminal. That's it. Let me know down in the comments if you ventured into Vostok Apartments or terminal, if you found success, if you know any other areas that are worth looting, terminal especially, because I don't think the oil tankers in the middle are worth going up and down because there's only 4 weapon crates on each one. Having to go up the stairs and go all the way around, all the way to the top, takes too much time and leaves you very exposed. So I don't think it's really worth the risk. But if you want to loot all the things, you can always go up there to get the crates as well. But yeah, that's it for this one. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.